Professional learning takes place in many different ways, not just in training rooms or online courses. The 70-20-10 model describes how learning is actually distributed in everyday working life. It was developed in the 1980s by organizational researchers Michael Lombardo and Robert Eichinger and is based on empirical observations of how managers and professionals have developed their skills over the course of their careers. The model distinguishes between three sources of learning. Firstly, direct experience in the workplace. Secondly, interaction with other people. And thirdly, formal learning opportunities. These three sources complement each other, and together they provide a complete picture of how people grow and develop in their professional roles. Direct experiential learning in the workplace accounts for the largest share of professional learning, around 70%. This share does not come from instruction, but from actively engaging with real tasks and challenges. Typical learning situations in this area include challenging project tasks, taking on new areas of responsibility, job rotations, or moving to a different location. What these situations have in common is that they encourage employees to develop solutions independently, make decisions and learn from the resulting outcomes, both successes and mistakes. Experience-based learning is particularly sustainable because it is directly linked to one's own work context. What is learned is not conveyed in an abstract way, but arises from concrete engagement with real requirements. This means that the transfer to daily practice is immediate, without any additional effort to translate theory into action. Around 20% of professional learning comes from contact and exchange with other people. This social aspect of learning is often underestimated in everyday working life, but it is of considerable importance. Specifically, this area includes observing and imitating experienced colleagues, obtaining and processing feedback, participating in coaching and mentoring programs, and collaborating in teams and projects. Participation in professional networks, communities of practice, or internal discussion groups also falls into this category. Social learning exchange makes it possible to benefit from the experiences of others without having to go through all situations yourself. At the same time, it encourages reflection on one's own actions, for example, when feedback helps to identify blind spots or gain new perspectives. In modern, networked working environments, this learning path has become even more important thanks to digital collaboration tools and social platforms. The remaining 10% is accounted for by formal learning opportunities. These include face-to-face events such as seminars and workshops, digital formats such as e-learning courses and webinars, and qualification measures that lead to certificates or degrees. Although this proportion seems small compared to the other two sources of learning, formal learning fulfills an important function. It imparts structured basic knowledge, creates a common frame of reference within an organization, and enables the targeted development of specific skills. Formal learning opportunities thus form the content foundation on which experience-based and social learning can build. The 70-20-10 model should be understood as a framework for orientation, not as a precise empirical measure. The percentages should not be taken as absolute. They vary depending on the individual, professional field, and organizational context. The model is sometimes critically discussed in research, as the original figures are based on a relatively small sample of managers and are not universally transferable. Nevertheless, the model still holds true today, not because of its numerical accuracy, but because of its conceptual value. It makes it clear that a learning culture based exclusively on formal training measures falls short. Effective personnel development takes all three sources of learning into account and consciously creates space for experience-based and social learning in everyday working life. In practical terms, this means that experiences in the workplace should be specifically designed, for example by consciously assigning tasks that promote development. Collegial exchange should be structurally supported, for example through mentoring programs or regular feedback formats. And formal learning opportunities should be designed in such a way that they act as catalysts and are meaningfully linked to other sources of learning.
Ai-torials, your partner for the uncomplicated creation of multilingual e-learning content.